866-509-RANT, 866-509-7268. We're joined for the rest of the hour by the founder of the Muslim Canadian Congress and the author of The Jew Is Not My Enemy, Unveiling the Myths That Fuel Anti-Semitism. This is Tarek Fatah. Tarek, how are you?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Thanks for joining us, Tarek. And I wanted to extend my compliments to you for going hands across the water here. Kelly in Petaluma she sent me a Twitter and Facebook that you wrote that says, furious at Sarah Palin apologist, she placed Giffords in the crosshairs at the gun site as if she were a polar bear, but blinded Palinites cannot see a connection. I want to tell you, you've humanized Muslims for me there, in that I now realize you can miss the point as badly as anybody in the world. So why don't you explain that to us?
Okay, my concern is that if Sarah Palin had put that picture up and she came out and said it wasn't, what it was supposed to be.
You mean the map, by the way?
Yeah, the map,
well,
yes.
The picture infers that there might be a picture of this.
No, I meant the map. She could have easily said, I didn't mean to, but once she took it down and her aide said that it was not a gun site, it was a surveyor's symbol, that more than anything else sort of upset me. And I'll tell you my real concern. America is at war right now. You've got an enemy that if it was not for the United States of America, we would all be in deep trouble. I just find it very painful that Americans are going at each other, not realizing that the rest of the world depends on the United States of America for literally.
How did you see fit to take the minimal time I agree that it takes to twit over the weekend to disengage from the battle against the true enemy, to go at Palin seeing, what is it again? Palin seeing this woman as if she was a polar bear. But
okay, that was not. I would say it was inappropriate.
Thank you. I said to myself, Tarek Fatah is a fair-minded man. He's as devastated as all of us by this.
Yes.
Some people choose to oraculate in their devastation. I choose to just shut up and be devastated. And I think you probably even realize you're thinking, well, the DNC used that before her, and President Obama said bring a gun. None of them mean kill this woman in Arizona.
Yeah, but why don't they put the gun sight on the forehead of Osama bin Laden?
I don't know why. When I saw, you know why? Because then we'd be anti-Islamic. How's about that? And Islam's the nation of peace.
No, put it there, and I'll pull the trigger.
I'll put it there in a second, pal. I think he's Satan incarnate.
He is, and he's killing Muslims day in and day out, almost a dozen a day. And I'll tell you why America means so much to so many of us. We've had an assassination, attempted assassination in the United States. Everyone came together. All the quibbling is about to depoliticize it. You compare that to an assassination in Pakistan just a week earlier, the governor of Punjab, and there are 50,000 people dancing in the street celebrating the murderer. I mean, we have civilization at one hand and barbarism at the other hand. And this is why I find it painful that whether the language comes from Democrats or Republicans, if there was no America, I might not be alive.
Well, these are all nuanced perceptions. Therefore, when I saw the furious at Sarah Palin apologist Twitter, I thought, Jesus, I guess he's just devastated and he's speaking before he thinks, because that did not make any sense to me.
That may be true because, for me, this was the youngest female congressman. She's a Jewish congressman killed by someone who's reading Mein Kampf. I mean, there may be no connection. Absolutely no reason.
There is none. How's about I say that? How's about this kid was mad as a hatter?
Yes.
And the numbers of people on the planet dictate that you're going to get completely broken machines. This kid's a broken machine. Palin didn't break him. Obama didn't break him. Nobody broke him. He probably shouldn't have smoked dope every day of his life, too, to amplify whatever was going on in his household. And you know what? There it is.
But Dennis, from a Canadian perspective, can't we do with fewer guns in America? Can't we take that sort of culture out? That's my only concern. And I'm now speaking as someone north of the border.
You see how it's tricky, though, in that for a couple... Well, listen, I keep jumping over you like I don't like when other guests do. Go ahead, explain your point further.
I'm saying that disputes, for example, in Canada, which is people just like you, just north of the border, slightly colder climate, our disputes never get to the stage where politicians start attacking each other, whether it is Barack Obama about his knife comment or gun comment, or Sarah Palin about reloading. That sort of language disturbs a lot of people.
Save that kid in Toronto who went off somewhere in the last 5 years and murdered all those. There's flip-outs up there, too.
Yes, there are.
That's what I'm saying. Now, listen, Tarek, here's one thing that I would say to you. We've got a core document that guarantees this right.
Yes.
I'm not saying everything from 250 years ago is completely applicable in our day-to-day life. I still don't hand churn butter. But I will say we've got that problem right off the bat. It guarantees that right. Secondly, I would encourage you to read a book by a man named John Lott. It is a tough book to digest in that it might not be what you want to hear, but it's called More Guns, Less Crime. Just give it a read so you know more about this. And thirdly, I would say if you get into the feel-good business like Canada is, where everything's relativistic, indeed even your core beliefs and your core laws, you get to the point where a man like Mark Steyn, merely having one of the best books of his generation reprinted in Maclean's magazine, gets hauled into something called a hate court, where he has to spend 2 years of his life defending himself against the capricious, almost like a stupid malpractice suit.
I agree with you.
Well, that's why you have to take the step early on. Don't you understand? People gave in on smoking. Now it's trans fats. Now it's salt. Now it's Mark Twain. At somewhere we have to say, listen, we cannot cater to everybody's individual peccadillos about what works in this country.
I'm especially appalled at what they're doing to Mark Twain. I can't believe that this is happening.
Yeah. Well, anyway, trust me, if Mark Twain were alive today, as bright as he was, I think he, like all of us, would probably think I should hold my powder on this before I get wizened. Or maybe he wouldn't, but maybe that's emblematic of what happens. We all have access to a microphone in the wake of immediate tragedy now. Maybe Twain would have had to sit and reflect because we weren't hooked up electronically. But a lot of us should just zip it right after it happens because we're not making any sense. Now, listen,
think so.
I appreciate you staying with me for the entire hour. We get off this now. I had to query you about it. I respect you enough. I wanted to talk to you about it. And we'll talk about other issues. We'll talk about the war, as I agree with you, the true guy that should have it on his scope, the laser dot, and that's bin Laden. Right after this, Tarek Fatah, the entire hour, and the Dennis Miller Show.